Um, all right. So if you've ever been a part of an icebreaker before, there's usually the question of what's unique about you, right? And so my answer to that question is, well, I'm a twin. And people are always like, oh, what's it like to be a twin? And I never really knew how to answer that. So a lot of times I would just answer with, well, what's it like not being a twin? And I just didn't know. So over the years, I got that question a lot more, and I answer with, well, it's like having your best friend with you all the time, someone to play with, someone to, borrow clothes from, someone to talk to, someone to argue with, right? Someone to just live life's up and downs with, but most importantly, just somebody to laugh with. And I remember when we were little girls, like we would try to go to sleep at night, and we had twin beds and bunk beds, and we would just tell each other stories and just laugh. And I can still just remember the sound of her voice and her laughter. But of course, like I was saying, we got into trouble quite a bit, and even from the time we were babies, the other thing about being a twin is you're usually socialized as a pair. So to kind of decipher between us, when we were little, my dad told me that when we were babies that he nicknamed me the little one, and my sister Erin, my twin sister, was Air Bear, and went by Bears. And so I kind of internalized that nickname of the little one because you're constantly comparing yourself to someone growing up. You're not so much focused on you as a twin. It's like, what's she doing all the time? But I proudly internalized that. I loved being the little one. She was born first by a minute. She was brave. I just always looked at her as like my big sister, my protector. I was kind of like the Thelma to her Louise in the sense that she was very logical and tough, and I was a little bit carefree and a little bit more timid. And Erin was just so outgoing and just made so many people laugh, including in first grade. We were actually in two different separate classrooms, and it was show and tell day. And I'm in my classroom getting ready for show and tell, and all of a sudden here comes Erin. They bring her in from the other classroom. I'm like, what is going on? She comes in and they're like, Erin, show everyone what you brought for show and tell. So she's got something behind her back and she whips it out and holds it up like this. It's my dad's Garfield Valentine's Day underwear. She brought them for show and tell. So she stole my thunder that day. Needless to say, that was not a fun phone call that my dad got from the office because they made her go down and show all the teachers. It was hilarious. But that just goes to show you who my sister was. And so then, we grow up together and we go to college together and we end up being in separate sororities, but we live in the same dorm. We even dated the same best friends, or a group of these two guys that were best friends from Wyoming. Like, how does that happen? And it was good. We were starting to develop our own identities, and still my big sister. And then life goes on. She moves to California. I follow her. She's chasing corporate sales. I'm in human services, just wanting to help people. She's wanting to just conquer the world. We move a couple different places, but always very close. And long story short, we end up back in Lincoln, Nebraska, because we went to college here, and we're from Nebraska. And we started to settle down, really, plant our roots here. I got married. I had children. Erin followed, moved back to Lincoln. And then things just started to change. She wasn't feeling very well, so back in 2018, and I remember I was at home one night bathing my kids, and I get that phone call, the one that you never want to get, and just instantly her fiance telling me something's wrong. We're going to the hospital. So I drop everything and I'm like, I'm not going to panic. Like, she's my sister. This is going to be fine. I get to the hospital. I walk into, the emergency room, and there's my sister's fiance and her son, who had just turned 10 days before. So this was November 12th, 2018. And we go back into a room, and here comes the nurse. And she says, when your sister got here, she wasn't breathing. And I just instantly lost it. Like, I went blank. I just remember being in shock. Like, my hands started to curl. My heart was racing. This is unbelievable. Like, this, can this just not happen to everybody, but this cannot happen to my one person that I look up to for everything. It was devastating. And I remember looking at her as she lied in that bed with the ventilator thinking, what am I going to do about this? How am I, like, she's got to come back from this, right? Like this is not the story. This is not how this happens. But unfortunately, she did have a severe brain injury that we learned. And yeah, the first 3 months were very tough. I mean, it was very touch and go. We didn't know if she was going to live. We didn't know what was going to happen. If anyone knows anything about brain injury, it's devastating. It's heart-wrenching. She lost her ability to talk. She lost her ability to walk, to move her body. She could do nothing. So for that first year, she lived for 3.5 years, but during that time, like something woke up inside of me. And it wasn't so much this mama bear mentality. It was something different. It was this like, I can't do this without you. So therefore, I'm going to do whatever I can to help you. I want you to get better. I want you to be who you were because we'll never have what we had unless you were the way you were. So I fought for her. I advocated for her. I went through the unimaginable just to try to get her back to where she was. And throughout the years, I just finally realized that wasn't going to happen. And so I took her lead instead in trying to look up to her as my big sister, which she always was. But then I realized, like, if I'm going to endure this and also to live with this, then I have to believe in myself. And I really have to start focusing on what is instead of what isn't anymore. I have to love her. And so in that moment, I decided to just be her sister instead of expecting things from her, trying to change things. And that was probably the most beautiful thing I could ever do because I realized what she was ultimately doing was teaching me the hardest lesson in life is how to let go. And so Erin passed on June 24th of 2022, and to say that I miss her is an understatement, but I will say I will always be the little one, but this time I'm a lot more stronger because I learned everything from her, and I'm so thankful for that. So thank you.